have been in a relationship with Li Heting for 4 years. He still pays me social security. I earn 5,000 yuan a month, but he gave my ex millions of assets. Shen Heting looked at me condescendingly and said, "What do you think you are? I'm raising you, and you dare to lose your temper." I slapped him and broke up directly. Everyone thought that I would beg for a reunion for nothing. Unexpectedly, I turned around and became a hot star. A few months later, he lost a lot of weight and said to me pleadingly, "I'm sorry, I'm an asshole. Can you forgive me?" 1. I was waiting for Li Heting in the bed of a resort hotel, with my hands constantly clasping my nails, anxious and resentful. Li Heting opened the door and came in. His hair was slightly messy and he was wearing a burgundy suit. The man in front of him has a clear outline, his eyebrows are slightly frowned, the bridge of his nose is high, and a pair of peach blossom eyes are slightly raised, adding a touch of style. As soon as I saw him coming in, I hurried to meet him. "Li Heting, why did you quit my job? I finally found it." His eyes were full of laughter and a trace of disdain. While pulling his collar, he said casually, "What kind of job is that? I don't earn much money in a second. No, I'm going to work. Can you respect me?" I exploded in an instant, and I was bound to compete with Li Heting for right and wrong. His disdain is more obvious. He didn't pretend at all. He put one hand around my waist and put it on the bed, and kept touching my body with both hands. "Respect, you have only been in school for a few years. Do you know how to write the word respect?" Tears flowed down in an instant. Li Heting didn't respect me, and he didn't even disdain to respect me. I stretched out my hand and pushed him to prevent him from coming any closer to me. "Respect, I will respect. If you don't respect me, I will never be good to you again." Li Heting's face turned blue, which was hit by me. "Respect." He gritted his teeth and said these 2 words while sneering. I dropped out of school at the age of 18 and was sent to him when I first came to City A. I admire him very much. He is rich, capable and good-looking. Most importantly, he is the first person to be good to me. He took me to the world, but he never let me read or go out to work. He stayed at home and waited every day. I searched for a long time to find a job that does not require a degree. Even as a waiter, I am very happy every day. Until he was found out by Li Heting. He couldn't help but quit my job and forced me to come on vacation. Li Heting was grumpy. Seeing that I didn't agree with everything, he cursed and slammed the door and went out. 2. In my short 21-year-old life, Li Heting was the best person to me. He will pay attention to whether he has eaten well, whether it will be cold, and buy clothes for me in person. When I was sick, he held me in his arms and stayed with me all night. He didn't close his eyes. He fed me food and water and always brought me on vacation. I don't want to leave him. I have nothing, no background, not even money. I was irritable. I turned on the TV and saw a beautiful and familiar face, Lu Qian. Lu Qian is Li Heting's ex-girlfriend. After I knew it, I would search for her TV series, movies and gossip. At the age of 18, she was admitted to the music department of the highest school in China. As soon as she graduated, her resources were so good. She didn't act for a few years. She went to a well-known music university abroad to study abroad, and then came back to act. Someone broke the news that she was able to apply for S university, because the gold owner behind her donated a building. Of course I know who it is, Li Heting. Li Heting has a lot of history of tales, and he never thought of hiding it from me. 3. Around the early morning, the door was knocked on the ground. I was awakened and suddenly heard Li Heting's voice. I reached out to open the door for him. There was no light in the room and it was dark. Li Heting was full of alcohol and pressed me on the bed. He stretched out his hand and pulled my clothes. I kept stopping him. He raised his head, his eyes were scarlet, pulled my hair with one hand and said coldly, "Do you think you are special? Do you smell the perfume on my body?" I didn't know what he was going to do. He asked in a daze. "Where have you been?" He said. "In a wine department. Mr. Wang has a newcomer who has just signed a contract. He is an undergraduate and is only a first-year student. He looks very similar to you." I was directly angry and went to pull his neck. "What do you want to say?" But he just patted me on the face and said casually, "Be good in the future and go to bed." I endured my anger and tears and didn't fall asleep all night. The next day I made up my mind to break up. I don't want Li Heting. I want respect and freedom. I carefully took stock of my household, necklaces, watches, rings and so on, all of which were all given by Li Heting. Looking at these jewelry, I couldn't stop feeling sad. I was so happy when I received the gift. Now it's time to sell the gift. However, since we are about to break up, money must be indispensable when going out. I took photos of these jewelry and put them on the second-hand website to see how much others estimate. Just out of the hotel, Li Heting's secretary ran over and told me to attend a party. I didn't refuse and wanted to take this opportunity to break up with Li Heting. The secretary led me into a villa. Several private planes flew over me. Pushing open the door, the chaotic scene came into view. The young people inside danced in the dim rose-red light. Someone kissing, someone in the corner. Li Heting never allowed me to enter such an occasion, not even in the bar. I was a little hesitant and didn't know the current situation, which made me feel very uncomfortable. 4. I met Li Heting. He sat on the red leather sofa in the center. Next to him was a black-haired man and a foreigner who couldn't tell which country he was from. He drank slowly, and the hot waiter next to him leaned on him. I felt bitter in my heart and I said coldly, "What are you asking me to do?" The yellow-haired man next to me glanced at me, whistled and said a bird's voice. I didn't understand it either, but I felt uncomfortable. Li Heting patted his leg to let me sit on it directly. I felt incredible. You're not sick, are you? There are so many people here. Everyone next to me laughed. I suddenly felt bad and raised my legs and wanted to run out. Li Heting suddenly held me down. What are you? I'm raising you and you still lose your temper. I was so angry that tears flowed down in an instant. I punched him directly and slapped him. With a pop, the whole audience became quiet. Li Heting was beaten by me and his hair was messy. I panicked for a few seconds. Immediately I wanted to run out. I didn't run 2 steps. I was carried on the shoulder by the man and walked out step by step. He threw me into the car at the door, raised his legs and sat with me raising the partition. I stared and cried. Break up, I want to break up with you. His handsome face showed a little ferociousness. You eat mine, spend mine and still break up with me? I couldn't help crying, as if someone had dug a big hole in my heart, shouting hoarsely. You don't respect me. Break up, we have to break up. I get paid. 5,000 per month. I am a contract worker with Social Security. I saw him smiling mockingly at me. What kind of job is that? It's just a rhetoric. You take hundreds of yuan a day to support people? Li Heting patted my face and said carelessly. Don't underestimate yourself too much. The clothes and jewelry I gave you often take you out to play. Are these all from your salary? Turned out that this was a rhetoric. He came to Li Heting's side when he was 18 years old. He cared about me. I always thought we were in love. I took a breath in my heart, and I trembled all over. Isn't it because you like me? Isn't that because we are in love? I like your face and figure, is it? I held back from crying. I opened the car door and was about to leave. He stopped me and I reached out to hit him again. He was annoyed by me. He grabbed my arm and said ferociously, Do you like me? How dare you sell everything I bought for you? You are so bold. I stared at him. How do you know? Then I reacted. Why do you look at my mobile phone? That's my privacy. I haven't sold it yet. Besides, it's my thing. Why can't I sell it? I looked at his face getting more and more horrible, and he didn't speak. Privacy? What kind of privacy can you have? Immediately, Li Heting pinched my jaw before I could react, and said in a cold voice, You drop out of school at the age of 18. Without me, you can't come to City A at all. I looked up at him stubbornly, only to see his mouth closed and his expression was mean. You received the gift and you made a fuss again. You said your little thoughts. I didn't wait for him to finish speaking. I hit him in the eye and ran away. 5. I ran away and I didn't have a penny on my body, and I couldn't even buy a return plane ticket. It is impossible to go back to find Li Heting. I always thought he was so kind to me because we were in a relationship. I didn't expect it to be a joke. I was just a gadget raised by him. I don't have money. I want to sell all the gifts Li Heting gave me. I want all the money. The street was empty. I saw a mobile phone store and walked in. When I come out again, I have 5,000 yuan in a fake second-hand mobile phone. It's strange. The mobile phone that Li Heting gave me is nearly 20,000 yuan. After using it for a long time, it can only be sold for 5,000 yuan. Back to City A, I returned to the house where I lived with Li Heting, but I entered the password and found that it could not be opened. I was furious in an instant. I took out my mobile phone and entered the number I had called countless times. The phone is connected. Li Heting, don't hang up. I have something to do with you. The voice of the person opposite was hoarse, and his tone was very impatient. Yo Xiaoxi, you don't have a backbone. You didn't come to me even if you sold your mobile phone. Why did you call me when you just returned to City A? I don't want to ask him how he knows. That person always has a way. You ask someone to open the door, and I'm going in to get my things. There was silence on the other side of the phone for a while, and then there was a light smile like a mockery. Rongshi, what's your stuff in it? That's all mine. Bastard, you're sending me off. Why do you want to go back? How can I say I want to go back? I gave it to the stream that won't break up with me, did you? You broke up with me. Only then did I really feel Li Heting's meanness, and the sourness spread from his heart to the surroundings. I held back my choking and scolded him. Old bastard, get out of here. I've been feeding the dog for the past few years, and my salary you must pay me back. Xiaoxi, do you know? What you eat, what you wear and what you use are all the best, and your salary can't afford these at all. I was so angry with him that I hung up the phone mercilessly and looked for a place to stay. Li Heting is a businessman. I think he is too good. He is forcing me to make me unable to live, so I begged him in a low voice. I bought a plane ticket and spent 1,000 yuan. I only had 4,000 yuan all over my body, and I was still wearing short sleeves. I was shivering with cold in City A in March. After walking for a long time, I went to the big store to buy a spring suit and some toiletries. Then I found several overnight internet scas on the software, an inch of land and an inch of gold in the A city. Even such a place costs 81 nights. The internet cafe is really noisy, and the smell of tobacco is mixed with the smell of various food, among which the smell of instant noodles is the most prominent. 6. I bought a bucket of pickled cabbage noodles to eat here. Looking for a job on the computer, a bald middle-aged man with hair that seemed to have not been washed for dozens of days came to me with a ring in his hand. He looked at me ambiguously. Do you want to make an appointment? Little sister, how much do you pay per night? I looked at him a few times and was worried that no one would let me vent my anger when someone came up. I kicked him in the chest and kicked him far away. He also grabbed the man's collar and raised his hand to punch him in the face. I couldn't help mocking while fighting. What an asshole, you get married and harm the little girl. Does your wife know? Don't fight, I won't dare anymore. I got up a little, and the man slipped away in a hurry. After beating the man, the surrounding environment was obviously much better, and the disgusting and vulgar eyes were more than half less. I can't stay in the internet all the time. I'm looking for rental information, and I can't get the strange house type and high rent. I suddenly remembered Li Heting's words in my ear. I couldn't help but feel a sore nose and wanted to pierce his head. It was already 7 p.m. in a daze. I suddenly remembered that the access control that Li Heting originally set for me was 8 o'clock, and I couldn't be a second late. Every time he comes back, he will bring me a small cake. In the summer, he always likes to buy me a beautiful little skirt, put his mong around my waist and praise my beauty. That's how he is. When he spoils, he lets go of people. However, if he doesn't like him, he is more ruthless than anyone else. Li Heting was particularly heartless to me. He gave a house to his ex and donated a building. When it was my turn, I couldn't take a pile of rags away. The air in the internet carba is too turbid. I went out for a walk and bought a bottle of water by the way. Before I was a mile away, I always felt that there was a car following me. Looking back, Li Heting's car. After a while, Li Heting got out of the car. Yongxi, why are you still walking outside? Why do you always run to such a messy place? What can you do without me? Now come home with me. I don't count what you said. I sneered. Li Heting didn't like me very much before. But at that time Li Heting liked me and was willing to hold me. The arrogance did not stand out in the intimate stream. I didn't want to pay attention to him. I walked into a hotel quickly and turned my head to scold him as an old scumbag. I'm only 21 years old this year, and Li Heting is already 28 years old. He can afford this old scumbag. Before I could go far, I heard his hoarse voice. Who do you think is old? 7. I can't live in an internet cafe. I'm a girl. Although I can play a little, it's not safe. This hotel is located near the university city. Although it is not very luxurious, it is cheaper and clean. In the evening, I lay in bed and downloaded a recruitment app. I saw an advertisement for a company recruiting trainees, including food and accommodation, and 5,000 yuan a month. I suddenly became interested and added the contact information on the advertisement. I think it's pretty good looking with a slender waist, buttocks and long legs, and a full of 1.7 meters. Li Heting has only been tired of his appearance for 3 years, and others should not be able to talk about it. The next day, I changed into a full set of long-sleeve sportswear I bought and a cap. As soon as I went out, I unconsciously pursed my lips, and my eyebrows were deeply wrinkled. I saw Li Heting again. He was wearing a black windbreaker. Except for the red blood thread in his eyes and the faint blue marks under his eyes, he looked really sloppy. I didn't want to pay attention to him and just skimmed him. Unexpectedly, he suddenly reached out and hugged me. What are you going out for? You don't know what kind of job you can find even if you are sold. I was expressionless and reached out to hit the back of his hand and asked him to get out of here. The back of his hand was slightly red, but he still didn't move. I directly bypassed him, checked the route, and walked to the nearby bus stop. I know that Li Heting is sitting in the black car next to him. Li Heting is the first person who treats me so well except my parents. The 18-year-old Rongxi has thick bangs and a rustic smell all over his body. He took me to the zoo, museum, art exhibition and amusement park, took me to a high-end restaurant for dinner, peeled shrimps for me, and cut steak for me. There is nothing in the remote town in the south. He took me to understand these novel experiences. But so what? It's so good when it's good to me, and it's so bad when it's bad to me. 8. When I entered the company, I didn't expect that there was a long queue inside, and someone sent me a form asking me to fill in the basic information. I reached out and patted the handsome man in front of me, borrowed a pen from him and asked him what was wrong. Oh, I'm interviewing. Oh, it's really serious. It was my turn soon. I handed over the table in my hand to several judges. Have you ever learned to dance? No. Do you have any work now? I've been at home. I straightened my back to make myself drive more upright. What do you think about your image? It's pretty. Is the XX Vocational and Technical College you wrote a junior college or a 3-book? It's a technical secondary school. Several people under the stage couldn't help laughing in a low voice. I felt even more ashamed, and both sides of my cheeks and ears were hot. Well, you're doing it. Just come to our company tomorrow to sign a contract. What? I was so shocked that I thought I had to wait for a few days, but the pie in the sky covered me. What's the matter? Are you not confident enough about your appearance? The interview is over. I just went out and didn't react yet. I pulled a staff member. Isn't there a staff dormitory here? When can I move in? After all, it's quite expensive to stay in a hotel. If you want, you can do it now from... The staff had a very good attitude. No matter how many questions I asked, she answered patiently. Unlike the front desk of Li Heting's company, every time I go there, he always looks at me with contempt. Now that I think about it, no wonder I was the only one who thought I was in love with him. Looking at the little money left, I went to the convenience store to buy a bucket of instant noodles and squatted on the ground to eat. The pickled cabbage flavor was actually quite delicious. As soon as I stood up, my eyes were black and my brain was dizzy. I was about to fall down. Someone helped me. Thank you. I didn't finish my words. When I looked up, it turned out to be Li Heting again. The blue veins on Li Heting's forehead burst out, and he looked extra angry. He roared at me. Do you have a brain? Go to that kind of place. Do you understand the twists and turns there? You. What's your business? Why is it none of my business? I will raise you for 4 years. Listen to me. Li Heting pressed my hands on me and said sincerely, if you want to play this, I'll just get a company for you. I'll give you whatever you want. Forgive you. When you come back, let's make up. What? Forgive me? What did I do wrong? My heart is extremely calm. Why do you give it to me? What do you think we have? There is no answer. In the expected answer, my heart suddenly ached, and my big mouth was still filled with the wind. My eyes were hot and I couldn't help crying. You say, what do you think was our relationship before? Old bastard. I pushed Li Heting aside, kicked him hard and ran away. On the way back, I thought to myself that Li Heting was really not even happy to coax him. Obviously he said that he was a lover, so I was not so angry. But he can't say it, and he can't say that kind of relationship. Li Heting neither thinks I am his lover nor admits that I am his plaything. Point 9. When I came out of the hotel, I checked out and rushed to the company with a little luggage. When I arrived at the dormitory assigned by the company, 2 people had already arrived. I went to say hello to them. One is called Li Yuan and the other is called Wang Suyu. I'm Rongxi. Wow, is it the stream of the stream? No, it's the one that removes the side. Li Yuan's personality is quite out of the world. She looked at me several times and I don't know why. Suddenly, she gave a thumbs up and said with a smile, Rongxi, your appearance must be popular. I was a little uncomfortable about this kind of straightforward praise. I grabbed the hem of my clothes. You are all very beautiful. That's right, we are not a style. My goal is to follow the pure desire wind, and Suyu is elegant and light wind. She looked at me carefully for a while. I think you can walk in the beautiful style like Lu Qian's style. Alas, Lu Qian, do you know? As soon as I heard the name, I felt a little dull and answered in a low voice. I know. Listen to the conversation between the 2 of them. Alas, was she by that person? Who? Li Heting, don't say that everyone he likes is the same style. We Rongxi are also of this type. Don't be liked by him. Haha, if it were me I would like it too. Oh. The next day, the 3 of us went to the company's living room together. The boss looks young, in his 30s. He called me aside and asked me if I had the idea of being an actor. I am good looking, and the company will support me carefully and give me a contract. The other 2 were given to Zhang Yuan and others. You can take a look again and decide whether to sign or not. Wang is willing to put together. He came to my ear and whispered, we can ask Suyu to help. She is a law student. I couldn't help but look at Suyu with admiration in his eyes. Suyu waved his hand and said uneasy, I don't quite understand this, but I know a master of law, so I can ask him to help us see it. Soon after a while the god sent a message. It's quite advanced, no problem. Hearing this we discussed and signed it. 10. That night, I was walking by the river and received another call from Li Heting. His angry voice came from the microphone. This was the first time I saw him so angry. Do you have a brain? If you say you have something to do, just come to me first. Why did you sign the contract by yourself? You. I didn't want to listen any longer, so I hung up the phone and blocked this number. After a few minutes, a strange number called, and I picked it up. Unexpectedly, it was Li Heting again. Do you have a brain? What should you do if you are cheated? Don't you know how to take a look at me before signing the contract? Before he finished speaking, I hung up again and then I felt angry. Soon the second strange number called again. I knew it was Li Heting, but I still answered the phone to see what he could say. His tone is much gentler, even a little gentle. Xiaoxi, I'm all for your good. I don't have much time in this aspect. I can't care about you. You don't know how messy it will be. I looked at the sparkling lake, and the light was very beautiful. I was a little distracted. After a while I said to him, it's none of your business. Why it's none of my business, Xiaoxi, where are you now? I'll pick you up. Now your business. Li Heting was chattering on the other end of the phone, but I was not listening. I was thinking about his past in my mind. He used to say that people's hearts were sinister and society was dirty, and he refused to let me out. What about actually? The person who coaxed me, it was him. He was the one who kicked me out and made me homeless, and he was also the one who gave me gifts and didn't want me to take them. I forced myself to think about this and I felt that my body was exhausted and I was very tired. Li Heting, you gave me gifts and spent money to get my hands. Now why are you afraid that others will use the same means to coax me? I took a deep breath. Or rather, you think I'm just a casual person and you can get some gifts. You are such an asshole. You treat me as a toy and don't even believe in my feelings. I'll just think that my previous love has been fed to the dog. If you come to me again, I'll hit you again. I can't help but resent it. After saying that, I didn't care about the reaction of the other side. I hung up the phone and put my mobile phone off again. I don't want to know the intention of Li Heting's calls anymore. He only likes my young age and beauty. I have never thought about what to do when I grow up and become not beautiful. He never wanted to live with me for a long time. Li Heting is a newcomer in the business world of City A. At the beginning, I naively thought that he would bow down for love. As a result, I had a big heal with him and thought I was special. I was walking on the Ning'an Bridge, and there were residents nearby on the road. There are intimate couples walking together, and a harmonious and loving family of 3, which all look so decent. I'm the only one who is lonely. I'm a stingy boss, others break up and give me a room and money, I break up, and I'm penniless 39,103. It doesn't look decent at all. 11. When I returned to the company, I happened to see Li Heting going crazy. There were some wrinkles on his coat, shouting at my new boss. Lu Yingping, what contract did you sign with Xiaoxi? I hurried forward for fear that Li Heting would beat people. When I got to the front, I suddenly pushed Li Heting away and stood in front of Mr. Lu. He was pushed and staggered by me and stared at me incredulously. Rongxi, you actually protected him. I also stared back fiercely. He is my boss. If I don't protect him, who else do I protect? Is it still you? Li Heting was choked by me and speechless. His lips trembled, and his red eyes stared at him. Mr. Lu's calm voice sounded. Mr. Li, Xiaoxi is an adult, and he has the right to deal with everything for himself. Why can't I control it? I'm hers. Li Heting suddenly stopped. Lu Yingping asked calmly. What is it? Family members? Boyfriend? The former boss? Or something else? Li Heting's face turned red at this time and he said angrily, Shut up. I was a little stunned until Lu Yingping patted me on the shoulder and asked me to go back to the company dormitory first. I thought he looked quite powerful. He should be able to handle it by himself, so he went straight to the elevator. The next day, I took the elevator to the artist department, and there was only one person in the office. I said hello, and the man turned around and found a young man who was a little feminine. My name is Yang Yan, who has just been recruited and graduated from XX Media University. Yang Yan wore a pink shirt and walked towards me, twisting his slender waist like a willow in the wind. He opened his mouth exaggeratedly and walked around me a few times. He shook his head and said, Why are you dressed so rustic? It's really a waste of a good face. I was uncomfortable when he looked at me, and I thought I was running out naked. Then he took me to a high-end mall to choose several clothes for me, and he was not soft when he swiped his card. I was a little embarrassed. I scratched my cheek and asked, Is the company so good? It also buys clothes for artists for free. Oh, that's not true. It will be deducted from your future income. Oh. Yang Yan is now my experience.gran. He told me that I had to tell him as soon as possible. I was a little hesitant. Should I tell him about Mai and Li Heting? On the other think, Li Heting probably didn't want others to know about it. In the afternoon, Yang Yan matched my clothes and drove me to the interview. I can't help but be a little surprised. I'm going to have an interview just a few days ago? Yang Yan raised her orchid finger and glanced at me charmingly. Of course, you are the company who feeds you. When I arrived at the place, the staff gave me a number plate of number 259 and asked me to queue up. After a long time, it was finally my turn to go in for the interview. As soon as I entered the door, I was shocked by the momentum. A pair of 6 men and 4 women are lined up, and their expressions are a little serious. I stood on the stage and began to recite my personal information. Those people asked some other questions and I also answered them carefully one by one. Then a white-bearded old man said, What impressive experiences have you had since childhood? Or what have you taught you? What kind of experience? My parents passed away when I was 10 years old, and I was adopted by my cousin's family. Their family was not good to me, but they still let me study. I thought there was a way out if I studied hard. But after I went to junior high school, they didn't let me go to school. I was so angry that there was no way to study again. Finally, after working for a few months, I earned a little money. I went to a technical secondary school again, thinking that I would see hope. My cousin's family hasn't cared about me in the past 3 years. But when I was almost 18, my cousin asked me if I would like to follow him to the big city. I went to the super first line A city with the longing for a new life. Before I could digest the impact of the city, I was sent to Li Heting by my cousin. What touching and tenacious experiences can I have? 2 minutes later, I didn't have any special experience. Everything I did was just to live well. 12. These days, I don't dare to relax at all times. Yang Yan tried his best to arrange a lot of work for me. I don't need an exclusive assistant for my coffee spot, and even Yang Yan the agent is shared with others. Later, Lu Yingping called me in person, told me that he had an interview and asked me if I wanted to go. I quickly said yes, afraid that this opportunity would not be mine. Yang Yan looked at me and laughed. In the end, he is responsible for the subsequent contracts, budgets, investments, and so on. I sat aside and couldn't listen to anything. Pleasure and ease filled every corner of my body. The shortcut at the age of 18 allowed me to see the life of paper drunkenness in advance. Now that I am 21 years old, I only feel that it was the 4 years of my lost life. I read the script carefully. The educated youth in the countryside and the rough man in the countryside fell in love with the village flower. The village flower wandered between the two, and a series of warm little things happened. That I should play the roles of the 4th female and the 5th female, the younger sister of the village flower, named Tuihua. The script reading is a project that every crew has to carry out before the shooting. The director is a very serious person and takes the shooting very seriously. He requires everyone to be present when reading the script. When I arrived at the place, I just sat down. Another man came into the room with fair skin and bright appearance, but soft temperament. After scanning around, her eyes fell straight on me. She came over and stretched out her hand to me and said, Hello, I'm Lu Qian, playing your sister. I can't help but feel funny that I became a sister with Li Heting sex. What a bad fate. Hello, my name is Rongxi, and I play your sister. Someone next to us said that we are really like sisters. The director took a few glances and said a few words slowly. However, Lu Qian's face is delicate and has a little softness of Lu Fufeng, while Rongxi's eyebrows are strong, which can smell a little heroic. Lu Qian and I shared my own character biography on the script. The script is full of my annotations, mixed with red and blue, and the original content of the script can't be seen. Wow, Xiaoxi is so serious. The font is so cute. Lu Qian looked at me with bright eyes and said, I haven't written for a long time, so I can only try my best to write straight, which looks like a serious primary school student's handwriting. At this time, I felt that Lu Qian was a very good person. No one praised me for a long time. A total of a week of reading, When it was almost over, Lu Qian called me to her private car. As soon as I went in, I found that she was on the phone. I didn't dare to disturb her. I sat aside obediently. I thought she was going to tell me about the script. After all, she has been taking good care of me these days. I often ask her what I don't understand. Xiaoxi, are you still with Li Heting? The momentary surprise on my face didn't take back. I stumbled and said, how do you know? There was a trace of helplessness on her face. She raised her mobile phone and showed it to me. No, everyone came to my side. The screen is full of call records between her and Li Heting. Xiaoxi, he wanted to hear your voice, and I was the only acquaintance, so he found me. Oh. Xiaoxi, I didn't want to interfere with your decision. I did be with Li Heting. However, he is not a good person to you. You take your feelings too seriously, and his heart is uncertain. I got it. When I got off the car, the breeze blew away the fallen leaves on the street. I suddenly remembered that Li Heting hasn't come to me for a month, and he hasn't received a single phone call. I shook my head and didn't think about him. Now my life is fine. 14. On the day of the shooting, I was putting on makeup in the public dressing room. Lu Qian passed by and saw me and asked me to go with her. She is a newcomer with a larger coffee seat and a separate dressing room. After putting on makeup, I was about to go to the startup ceremony site. As soon as I went out, I saw Li Heting walking this way. He immediately turned around and went back to the room. I asked Lu Qian, why did Li Heting come? He is an investor. Don't you know? The publicity on the internet is overwhelming. I'm still shocked. Isn't he the boss of a technology company? Can you get in hand with our entertainment industry? Just invest in money. No one cares whether he is from the entertainment industry or not. You can still play like this. Before my scene came on the first day, I sat aside and watched Lu Qian and the leading actor. Lu Qian and the boy had been ingy several times. The director's face was gloomy and now aside, which looked strange and scary. After a while, Li Heting moved a bench and sat beside me. He said nothing. He was too close to me, and I could still smell the clear perfume on his body. I was not even in the mood to watch the play. I turned around and left directly and went to Lu Qian's dressing room. When Lu Qian came back, my face was still very bad. When she saw my appearance, she smiled softly. Why is Xiaoxi unhappy again? I shook my head and didn't want to say much. Stepping forward, I helped her take off the sweat-soaked cotton jacket decorated with pink flowers and handed her a small fan. It's noon. I'm so hungry that my stomach is screaming. I'm hungry. When will our crew have dinner? I ordered several portions, which is enough for us to eat. I cheered and jumped. Great, I don't have to eat the crew's oil-free and salt-set meal. Now I can eat a cow when I'm hungry. In the afternoon, Li Heting disappeared from the crew, and I sat on the small bench to watch the play. The day passed quickly and Yang Yan drove me back. In the car, I received a call from Jiang Yuan. She was excited and could feel her joy through the phone. She can act in an online drama and is excited to invite us to dinner. Jiang Yuan chose a hot pot restaurant and Siyu was also here. The Mandarin duck pot was already on it, and Yang Yan and I sat down. The three of them are talking. In fact, I don't like to talk very much. What I say is a little ignorant and it seems that I have no knowledge. When I first came to City, I always had a lot of questions, and Li Heting disdained to answer me. When I felt annoyed, he told me to talk less. After a long time, I really don't like to talk. However, the three of them chatted for a while and then turned around and asked me, right? What does Xiaoxi think? Oh, I'm very happy to have such a group of friends. 15. Yang Yan sent all three of us back to the company. The front desk said that someone sent me something. I thought I finally had a fan. Taking the big handful of roses, I took down the exquisite jewelry box and cards on it. As soon as I opened the card, I saw that it said, for the 18-year-old stream. I looked at the familiar font and opened the box. Sure enough, a familiar necklace shines in the light. In the ambiguous eyes of the front desk, I picked up the rose and threw it into the trash can, and the necklace was kept for money. Suddenly, a cold hand directly hugged my whole body, and my feet were not on the ground, and I was carried out of the company. I exclaimed and turned my head hard to see that it was Li Heting again. Looking closely, his face was much more haggard than before, and his dark circles were frighteningly heavy, and he looked decadent. He put me down, gently pressed my shoulders with both hands and said hoarsely, Xiaoxi, I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Can you come back? I can't say what I can't say in my heart. And the day Li Heting apologized to me. Li Heting, have you seen my friend? Each of them is very kind to me and makes me talk more. Unlike you who get bored with me easily. My life has just got a little good now. Don't bother me. I dropped his hand and the cold temperature made me excited. His head drooped slightly, as if he had lost his vitality in an instant. The next day, I gave this necklace to Yang Yan and asked him to go to the counter to ask how much money he could have. As soon as he saw the necklace, he raised his orchid finger in one hand and looked surprised. Oh, buy it. This needs to be specially customized. Where did you get so much money? Ah, then you must be able to exchange a lot of money. Where did you get this? Yang Yan stared at me suspiciously. Alas, just don't care so much. In the past few days I have had several romantic dramas, and my partner is also a newcomer. In the play I held a love letter and said affectionately, Little Meng, I like you. What do you think of me? Xiao Chui, in fact I fell in love with you the first time I met you. Xiao Chui, can I kiss you? Can. I closed my eyes slightly and waited for the play to be finished. But I heard a loud bang sound. It turned out that Li Heting kicked the chair fiercely, His face turned pale and he roared, "What kind of drama is this? No way." Everyone on the set looked at him in unison. The director came to him and discussed it very much. Both of them were tough. After a while, the director ran away in anger. Our play was delayed first. At night, the director told me that the last kiss scene was changed to a hug. After work, Yang is still with other artists so he can't pick me up. I said no problem and called online car hailing. While waiting, a black business car stopped in front of me, and the window was lowered, revealing Li Heting's face. "I'll take you back." I smelled the cigarette on his body. I had never seen him smoke before. "There is a car called." I turned around to stay away from him. Unexpectedly, Li Heting moved quickly and pulled me. He put one arm around me tightly, leaving no gap between us. The other hand held my chin and raised it up, forcing me to look at him. "Xiaoxi, you can sell whatever I gave you, but tell me, who do you like? Is it because of the drama?" 16. "Yes, I just like it. I just like to be gentle and patient. Whoever I like in the future will not like you again." Now I'm sitting in the taxi and I'm a little scared. After hearing what I said, Li Heting's eyes were red, and he punched the tree next to him, and his fingers were bloody. He is really a mad dog that can't be shaken off now, and the black business car behind him is like a ghost. Li Tingyi is really idle now, and the company doesn't care? When I got off the bus, I didn't dare to stop. I quickly got on the elevator and swiped my card to enter the door. Li Heting's roses and the gifts he gave me before can be given to me day by day, whether I am in the crew or in the company. A few months passed quickly, and my scene was soon finished. I also have nearly 100,000 fans, and the media and marketing accounts call me Xiao Luqian. Yang Yan said that this was the company's marketing, deliberately stealing Luqian's traffic. Luqian and I know each other quite well, but I was still afraid that she would be angry, so I didn't dare to come to her side for those days. Until one day, Luqian took the initiative to come to me. She said she didn't mind, but when I became popular, she also wanted to use my traffic. When my scene was over and I was about to leave, Luqian stopped me and said to me seriously, "Rongxi, I think you are a very pure, a clean person, has a kind of courage so that he can get more people's respect. Do you understand?" In fact, I knew what she was saying and I was silent for a long time before saying, "I know, thank you." When I walked to the street, I found that someone was taking pictures of me with a mobile phone and came to me to get an autograph photo. I think I'm really a little famous and my life is really getting better. 17. Back to the company, a ragged man stopped me. "Xiaoxi, don't you remember your cousin?" I was so sick that I wanted to vomit. I turned around and wanted to leave. "Xiaoxi, you are famous now. Can you forget your cousin? If it weren't for me, would you come to city?" I couldn't help the anger in my heart anymore. I came to him and slapped him hard and kicked him hard. He squatted on the ground with his stomach covered. Beast. When I got back to the company, I was a little afraid. Rong Gang was like a drooling dog, wanting to bite a piece of meat on me. In the next few days, he always called and harassed me. "Xiaoxi, you are a big star now. What if your relationship with Li Heting is discovered?" Oh, listening to the voice on the other end of the phone, I sneered. "Do you want money? I won't give you a penny. Just say it." Even so, I still had a vague worry in my heart, so I went to find Lu Yingping. He looked at me with pity in his eyes. He probably didn't think that I would have gone through such an experience. He said gently, "Don't worry, he can't go through any big storms." I'm a little relieved. Li Heting always comes to me these days and talks nonsense. In the past, he had nothing to say to me. In his car. Stream. Li Heting slowly took off his coat, unbuttoned the inside, and his hands kept shaking. He took off his coat and revealed the traces of large and small bruises and sticks on his back. He put my back around my waist and his voice trembled. "Xiaoxi, come back with me, I will marry you. I used to be a real bastard, but I have lived like this for almost 30 years. As long as you give me time, I will change it. I will let you be my dignified lover, okay?" Looking at Li Heting's regretful look, my heart was very calm. "Li Heting, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. What would you do if I were old and not beautiful? Luqian is your ex-girlfriend, but others say that she was taken care of by you. What about me? If you don't like me, you can take everything back and almost get me on the street. I won't be with you, do you understand?" Li Heting lowered his head, tears fell on my hands and said hoarsely, "Xiaoxi, what should I do?" 18. When I got back to the company, Yang Yan called me to prepare for the audition for the next role. Few days later. Now I'm at the airport security gate, dragging a big suitcase and queuing for the security check, and Yang Yan is accompanying me. Suddenly, a girl with a pink envelope came out of nowhere. She stuffed the envelope into my arms, smiled brightly and said excitedly, "Rongxi, I like you so much. Can we take a group photo?" I stared at her blankly and didn't realize until there was a click sound. When I got on the plane, I gently opened the letter, and slowly the 2 pages were full of blessings and love. I stuffed the letter back into the envelope and put it in my close-fitting bag. When I arrived in City C, the climate here was very different from that in City A. It took me a while to get used to it. The set is far away from the city, with barren mountains and ridges, and birds don't poop. The road is also bumpy, which makes my buttocks numb. The set is full of wind and sand, and you can eat a mouthful of sand when you open your mouth. My character is a female general. After taking photos every day, my arms are so tired that I can't lift them. After the end of the day's play, I suddenly saw Li Heting on the set. The field official told me that he was a friend of the director, and came here on a business trip to have a look by the way. For several days in a row, Li Heting appeared in the theater on time, but he only stayed in the director's room and never came out. Li Heting has changed more. In the past he was very public. If he did something the report would come out first and the whole world should know it. Now he is more like a knife in its sheath, and his silence is much more restrained. Yang Yan left long ago, and I took a taxi back to the hotel every day. Today when I just got out of the car and walked into the hotel, a man suddenly appeared. Before I realized, Li Heting fell down in front of my eyes. He had a knife in his abdomen, and his clothes were red with blood. I looked up and saw Ronggang looking panicked, his hands stained with blood, and shouted, "It's not me. I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to." I was stunned and my mind was like playing a movie. I squatted down and looked at Li Heting motionless, and my eyes were all wooden. He smiled gently at me and touched my head with his clean hand. "Don't be afraid, Xiaoxi." 19. The ambulance came over after a while. Li Heting entered the emergency room, and I was waiting at the door like a walking dead. Finally, after the operation, the doctor said that it was delivered in time, and the rescue had been successful. There were no sequelae. The heavy stone in my heart was just put down a little. I turned on my mobile phone and found that many people called me. I went back to Zhang Yuan first, and it was connected in a second, and her anxious voice came out. "Xiaoxi, how are you? I saw on the news that you were attacked. How are you? Are there any injuries?" "I'm fine. It's okay. It's okay. I'll fly to you tomorrow. Isn't it troublesome? What is this?" In the middle of the night, Li Heting's eyelashes moved. I knew he was going to wake up, so I quickly took a glass of water and brought it to his mouth. "Xiaoxi, cough, cough, cough. It's good that you're okay." I lowered my head and didn't know what to say. "Xiaoxi, I won't let Ronggang go. Some time ago, I asked him to be imprisoned for several months, but I didn't expect him to dare to come. Believe me, he will never appear in front of you again. Can you forgive me?" Looking at Li Heting's pale and sickly thin face, I felt a little distressed, but, "Li Heting, thank you for saving me and I forgive you. However, I don't want to be with you." He interrupted me and held my hand tightly, looking anxious. "Xiaoxi, I really love you. I know you sold all the gifts, but I bought them all back. I know you were harassed by Ronggang, and I will also protect you. I can break up with your family for you. I will always like you even if you are 70 and 80 years old. I haven't seen you these days. I really think a lot. I'm sure I love you. There will be no one but you." I looked at the anxious Li Heting and pulled his hand away. "Li Heting, you still don't understand. When Ronggang sent me to you, didn't you expect this day to happen?" Li Heting opened his mouth again and didn't say anything. "I will live my own life without Ronggang or even you." I took a deep breath and suppressed the slight bitterness in my heart. "Li Heting, I'm still saying that. Thank you very much. I haven't sold those gifts yet, and I'll return them to you. Li Heting, don't do that to the person you like in the future." After listening to me, Li Heting's tears fell down. He let go of me, closed his eyes, and his voice was hoarse. "Get out, Rongxi." Zhang Yuan came the next morning and gave me a big hug when he saw me. "Su Yu is also worried to death. She still has some work left and should be here in a few days. I'm not hurt, nothing happened. Why is it okay? My little she must be scared. Let my sister comfort you." The crew knew what happened to me and gave me a short vacation. I wanted to take care of Li Heting in person. However, he refused, thinking that it was better to hire a special senior nurse. However, I still often visit him, and every time I bring him the soup I cook with my own hands. This skill was still taught by Lu Qian. 20. Later, Li Heting and I rarely met. In the past, he often appeared in entertainment news. Now he is getting more and more calm, and only his words appear in the media. Once on the set, I heard that the factory was discussing, "Hey, have you heard that the young master of the Li family left the company?" I heard it. It's strange that the big man in his 30s hasn't married yet, and the media hasn't even found out a hair of his girlfriend, and now he's playing with his family. How do we understand the young master's mind? At a dinner I met Li Heting and he seemed to have completely changed. He no longer wears a windbreaker, but wears a decent suit. He is very thin and doesn't like to talk. He greets others politely. I have made more and more plays and become a popular actress today. In the 5th year, I made a film about the abduction and trafficking of women and won the Best Actress award in China. I was so excited that I was speechless. My whole body was shaking and I kept crying. Standing on the pod stage, I bowed deeply to the stage. Today, I can win the award, and I am most grateful to my friends. When I encounter difficulties, they always inspire and encourage me. Zhang Yuan, see you, Lu Qian, and my agent Yang Yan, I love you.